Okay, and we're recording. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited and thrilled to see so many faces, so many male faces on a call for a change. We have had so much growth in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and we have seen a need to bring all you guys, get some more testosterone up here. And so we are so happy that you guys decided to join us with this call. We have a few leaders that have decided to get together and stretching across team lines and bringing everybody together, not only to show how many men that we now have in Scout and Cellar, but to show you guys community. Maybe you guys get to know each other and can work with each other. But more often, we want to learn from you guys. We definitely have a lot of questions that we want to ask you about why you're here, how you're doing. And I know a lot of other consultants are very interested to see what made you say yes to Scout and Cellar, and how can we jump into that getting in those men into Scout and Cellar, because we know men buy wine. They buy wine like they're going to Costco. They go and they just buy as much as they can that one time. And so we want to make sure that as we're presenting the opportunity or the product to a man, that we are actually speaking their language of what they are looking for. So we've got six leaders that jumped on this together. I've got Jackie Carl, Executive Director, Amanda Bowditch, Executive Director, Ann Thompson, Executive Director, Jacqueline Dearden, Managing Director, Gavin Sonntag, Managing Director, and my name is Shelley Hoke, and I'm a Managing Director with Scout and Cellar. So we're so excited that we get to do this with you guys. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through almost like a little interview process. We really want to get to know you guys very well. So as we call your name out, we're going to have you unmute, and we're going to do a little interview and ask you a few questions. And I'm actually going to go first. So the first person up, Joel, I'm gonna grab you. So if you want to unmute yourself, you're the very first one that gets to do this. And what I want to do is, I want you first off to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do for a living, and then just tell me, why did you say yes to the opportunity of Scout and Cellar?
Well, first of all, thank you, Shelley. That's not a simple question. We've been involved with the direct sales industry for over 25 years and built a major organization with a previous company. And we had over 10,000 people in our organization. And so leadership and building teams of people has been something we've been doing for 25 years. My background is sports medicine and sports nutrition. And as you begin to think about, products and things in your life about clean and how you're going to do better, it makes sense to look at wine in the same sense, in the same perspective. We've been wine drinkers for the last 15 or 20 years and have had the chance to drink wine all over the world. And we're exposed to some stuff in Italy. When Scout and Cellar walked in my world, it made absolute 100% to be involved from the word get-go.
Okay, yeah, I know, and we're so glad you're here. We're excited to see what you can do, Joel. So, Joel, how long have you been with Scout and Cellar?
June or July of last summer, and okay. So it's been a short period of time. And I'll be honest with everybody. When Scout and Cellar found us, we had just gone through a really weird situation in our world, and the previous company we were with made some changes, and it completely altered some things in our world. And so it's been slower out of the gate because there's a lot of the things that we're still dealing with from the previous thing that we've been involved with. But, so you spend some time sampling the wine. I mean, if you're going to sample a product, and if you're going to, be talking to people about a product and change some directions, you drink some wine and you begin to understand what the company's about and the integrity of the company and the character of the company. More importantly, from a male perspective, it's about vision. It's not so much about where it's been, but it's about where it's going and what are the processes in place, and who are the leaders that are leading. So those were some of the things that attracted me from the word get-go.
Great. Thanks so much, Joel, for sharing that with us. Okay, Jackie's up next. Jacqueline. I keep calling you Jackie. Jacqueline.
There's two Jacquelines, and Jackie goes by Jackie and I go by Jacqueline, so it's confusing. So I'm actually going to ask Jay O'Brien a few questions. So I've met Jay a few times. He's out of Alabama. He's a great guy, very charismatic. Y'all see that soon. And I just really lean into him. He's I think he's the only director in EP that's a male other than Chris Height. So I think that he has really built a great business with Scout and Cellar in a short period of time because we haven't always been able to ship to Alabama. So, Jay, I just want to know why you joined Scout and Cellar.
Hey guys, well, thanks for the kind words too, Jacqueline. I joined Scout and Cellar. Primarily, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've got a commercial real estate business that I run and a charter fishing company that I run and a couple other ventures. And I'm a numbers guy, and I looked at the numbers and saw it was a market segment that was not being tapped within, the clean crafted side of it for a $72 billion industry. So it just made sense to me.
Awesome. And then Jay, how have you been so successful in becoming a director and growing your business with having some harder times getting wine to Alabama, or just in general?
I think the team side of it comes harder to me than the sales side of it. I've always been able to sell, and the product sells itself, so that makes it even easier. So, one way that I grew my personal sales was I gave a lot of wine away. When I first got into the company, I just, bought a few cases of wine and just started handing it out to people I thought would be prime candidates to either enjoy the wine or, maybe they might mention it to somebody else, and see where it went. As far as team growth, like I said, I'm not probably the best team grower, but I've been working more at it this year on that. And I've just been trying to, look at other people's needs and see if I can help them fill a need, or Scout and Cellar can help them fill a need they might have in their life. And that's how I've been able to help grow my team.
Awesome, Jay. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda.
Hey guys, so I'm going to start with Nate Newcomb. So Nate, if you'll unmute yourself. I met Nate and his darling wife, Rochelle, November of 17, 18, Nate.
Right.
And they just as a team hit executive manager last month. So that was extremely exciting. But I've never met a man that's a bigger cheerleader of his wife and what she's doing. So Nate, let's start there. Of course, I met you the night you met Scout and Cellar. But where were you on the path with Rochelle? Were you like guns blazing all in? Was that a process to start helping her? How did that transpire?
It really was. We came to that first tasting, invited as friends, and just, hey, we'll go over to the Kiner's house, and you were telling us about wine. And I specifically remember when you were giving I'm in sales too, and when you were giving all the sizzle points and how great this stuff was, I was literally texting Rochelle, like, buy 2 bottles. It sounds expensive, and we'll just be polite. And then I remember I started asking you questions, and you were answering them because I was like asking questions about, well, that has to be my allergies, and it has to be this and that. And you were like filling me in on, I remember I was asking you questions about, like, I'm drinking the Whataburger and the McDonald's wine, and I'm waking up and I don't feel well. And then I got interested. And I think that just, Rochelle and I talked on the way home, and I think she got on board, and we just thought, okay, if we could get this good wine, this clean wine, since we were both exercising at the time, it made sense to us. We didn't want to have added sugar in what we were drinking. We were drinking wine anyway. And it kind of made sense. And her goal, or our goal together, was household consumption is free, the $600, whatever it is. And things kind of took off from there. We started telling our friends because, yes, we'd serve a lot of it at our house. And then people would wake up the next day and go, wow, that was really good. What was it? And I think it kind of just snowballed from there. And then I'm in legal sales, and I know that lawyers drink wine. And around the holidays, I would just make it real easy for them to reach out to my wife, and we do gift packages. And the thing just kept progressing. I had a target market of people that I knew were wine consumers, and it made sense to make it easy for them the way I try to make everything easy for them when they're going to trial. I just tried to take that same blueprint and use the Scout and Cellar, the fact that it's really good wine at a great price point, especially for the people I'm dealing with, and things just started to go from there.
You look at this call, you guys, we've seen the number of men grow in this business pretty rapidly over the last 2 months. One of the questions I would have, Nate, is the direct sales model doesn't have the best reputation. I love that that Jay talked about the vision. Was it Jay or was it Joel? Joel, the vision of the company. Can you give us kind of your thoughts as you talk to people, as you guys recruit, from a man's perspective of what is traditionally a female industry, if you will?
Yeah, I hear a lot of that when I mention it, and people like it. They immediately ask questions, and I don't know if people have been burned in the past by the MLM, the standard model. What do I hear? Everybody wants to call it a pyramid. It has these negative connotations right out of the gate that I kind of have to try and dissuade, people from going down that road and just focusing on the product. Rochelle's been the one really building the team. I've really been trying to push the product in and of itself on its merits, right? Just like where it comes from and the things that as a sales guy, I could buy into because I could emote about that, right? When you started teaching me about that, that made sense to me. And I could go and talk to people, look them in the eye and say, wait a minute, because then when they would try to come back at me about, well, this and that, and I was, and I try to, it was really more of an education process. So Rochelle's really been the one building the team. I'm really been the one out there trying to sing its praises. And, I'm walking around as a walking billboard all the time and people start asking questions. And I think that those things together have worked, but I haven't really been the one out building the team as much. I'm really the one out there pouring the wine and trying to answer the questions. And I think the two of them have just been working together. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I'm not really the one that's been bringing new people in. I've actually been able to open the door to customers or prospects, I would say, who've now become really regular good customers, especially around the holidays. But by just putting their mind at ease about what this is and trying to push down some of that MLM, just when people get their dukes up immediately about whatever negative experience they had about calling something like this a pyramid scheme, which I don't, I get pretty offended when folks do that because of the way I've seen this company treat people. And it's just putting those in the same, they're not the same thing as to what some of these other organizations are.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. So from there, I'm going to turn to another team member, Jeff Anderson. Jeff is up in Minnesota, correct, Jeff? Can you give us just a little introduction as to, what your day job is and how you've decided to work with Erin, your wife, on this?
Sure. I work for SAP, a software company, and Erin's the one, much like Nathan was talking, she's sort of growing the team and doing the recruiting. This isn't the first time we've done direct sales or she's done it, but this is something that I'm much more excited about than the other line. And being able to share that with her has been a welcome change. We work pretty well together because I'm able to take what I know from my day job as far as sales, demand generation, technology, tax laws, stuff like that, right? To figure out the best way we can go about and promote Scout and Cellar. It's definitely an easier conversation to have. We're not actually running into people who think it's an MLM. So don't bring it up, right? So we're not having to fight that battle from the people that we've seen.
And how much are you, recruiting or selling on your own? I know Nate talked a lot about it being a team effort. As we talk to you men, I'm curious, as you go approach people, whether it's about the business or the sales aspect, what do you find is resonating with your peers, with other men, as you discuss that with them?
I'm not as big of a networker as Erin is. She'll talk to anybody, and she's a connector. So I don't feel that the return is there for me to invest that time, as I don't enjoy that much. I'm more of a, let's find a different path to the same result. So like our conversation earlier, Amanda, I want to find a way to, with one phone call to a nonprofit, get access to 100 people and have them do the work, right? I feel that approach and that return is going to be greater for my effort when I only have so little time given the day job to be able to do that.
Do you have a goal with Scout and Cellar?
Not specifically. We want to eclipse what we're doing with the other product company is the big thing.
And do you see, like Joel talked about the vision, do you see a long-term, one thing versus the other? Do you see this being a wider net per se?
Well, I think the other thing is this is a newer company and we're in earlier. So the possibilities and the opportunities are bigger than the other one coming in so late. So that's another thing that's really attractive is we're early enough on that, and recruiting frankly is easier, that our possibilities of getting a larger downline are much more enhanced with Scout and Cellar.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you for being on here. I had one more, but I think, did he hop off? Is Jeff Brady still on? Jeff? Oh, there he is. There's Jeff. Jeff, will you unmute yourself? Elizabeth Drabinski, Jeff's upline, and I got to talking about men in this industry, and I have a soft spot for Jeff. I was a producer for Fox Sports for 10 years.
Oh, gosh.
Jeff comes from the TV world, and so give us a little about your story, your background, and why you joined.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm still new. I mean, I'm just soaking it all up because I'm new to the company. I've only been in for a couple of weeks. Elizabeth, Amanda, Elizabeth Drabinski and her husband are good friends of ours, and so we knew, about Scout and Cellar just because they had been kind enough to drop off a couple of bottles and share them with us socially, and it had come up, but I didn't know anything about it. But at one point, Elizabeth, I think it was just maybe less than a month ago, Dan happened to text me and he said, "Hey, do you know anybody? Because Elizabeth is really trying to grow her team and this is an amazing product. And here's kind of the structure and here's what they're doing." And I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of interested. Tell me more." And the more I found out, the more interested I was. But let me preface all that by saying my career has been in TV news. I've been a TV news guy for 20 plus years. And I've worked in multiple markets, 10 years here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at the ABC affiliate. Left the industry, started my own PR and content marketing agency, sold that, got back in the business, recently relocated back here full-time to the Dallas area. And that's when I found out about Scout and Cellar. I was one of the guys who put on the brakes and said, no, I'm not your MLM guy. I'm not going to do it. I knew it wasn't a pyramid scheme. I wasn't in that category, but I had been hit up so many times, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people on this call who have been approached in different circumstances at different times in their lives by a MLM or a multi-level marketing operation, most of which are above board, most of which are successful and do quite well and people profit. But I had been approached to sell vitamins, okay, to men, cosmetics, skincare products, energy plans, resell energy plans, life insurance, and the list just goes on. And every time I said, no, not only no, but hell no. I mean, it's just that's not what I do. That's not what I do. What was different about Scout and Cellar? When I think, now that I think about it and I kind of say, okay, what hit me, what struck me as dramatically different, and why did I approach this different than any other MLM or e-commerce product, was because the product, first of all, the product blew me away. We drink wine, and frankly, my wife had given up drinking red wine because of the after effect, like so many people. She just didn't drink red wine anymore. And I had slowed down. I had stopped. Not that we wanted to consume that much, but just the after effect. You wake up the next day and it's not a good situation. Scout and Cellar was different. The wines are delicious. The more I found out about clean crafted and what that process is, the more intrigued I was. Every wine that we tasted, we shared with friends. Everybody said, "This is great. What is this?" So it was the product. It was certainly the people. Elizabeth, first and foremost, and her downline, the more people I met, the more I was attracted to the people and this kind of the approach, the culture of the company, and the plan. I make it simple: PPP, the product, the people, the plan. And to me, the plan it's not a conventional MLM in that you're not warehousing product. right? You don't have a garage full of the product that you had to buy and then sell. There's no monthly membership or subscription fee that you have to pay just to be a part of the organization. And I love the fact that it's so new. You know, it just started and has had this phenomenal growth trajectory that is really, really appealing. And the more I find out about the company, the more it makes sense.
And Jeff, am I correct to correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here? You are the primary account holder. This wasn't your wife's deal that you are helping her.
No.
You were the.
No, I'm the guy. She's got a career. She's in healthcare, and she's got her own business. So this is not something she's doing with me. So I need help, people. I'm all on my own, and I just started. So you gotta, you know, if you have any tips or ideas, guys, let me know.
And so the last one, and then I'll kick it over to Catherine. So have you set any goals for yourself? Like, what do you want to see this turn into?
Well, you know, I'm still learning. I want to see this become something that grows. It's a long-term plan for us, for me, and something that I want to accelerate now and then really expand potentially when it becomes a full-time operation for us. It depends really on how quickly it expands for us. And I think the key for me is people. It's getting the right people on the team. And, you know, we've already off to a great start. One friend whom I recruited and asked to join came on board really quickly. He's in the Tampa St. Pete area, and he's already recruited 5 others. So, you know, we are off to a quick start. Another friend of mine I recruited in the Atlanta area, and he's talking to some friends. So I think to answer your question, though, Amanda, it's, you know, that $600 per month benchmark is certainly, that's the low-hanging fruit. But I think what is equally important to me is getting the right people on board that I think will be just as excited as I am about the product.
That's awesome. I think I speak for the female leadership on this call that any ideas you guys have in ways that we can help, places you feel like there's roadblocks, things that you guys would like to see corporate do, please reach out to us. Please, you know, Joel, Jay, you've got some great leaders on this call that, you know, we definitely want this to be as much male as female. So thank you for your input. With that, I'll send it over to Catherine.
Hey, thank you, Amanda. So I would like to ask a few questions to 2 gentlemen on the call. Rocky Duran in Oklahoma, if you could share with us what made you join Scout & Cellar? What was intriguing to you about this brand and this product?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Rocky Duran. I'm here with my wife. You can't see her. She has our new little 1-week-old with her in her arms. But I'm a pretty relational guy, right? There's a couple things that I heard on the call already, and I'll kind of explain that. So for me, I live in Oklahoma. I'm originally from California. I found Scout & Cellar because I was looking for, well, I wasn't even looking for a gift for my mom. I was scrolling Facebook aimlessly, like I do every night before bed. And I seen a package, right? 2 bottles of wine, gift wrap, delivered with a card. And I'm like, sign me up. How do I get it? I click on the link. It goes to my friend. She gives me the information. I go to the site. It's super easy. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I see the little thing, become a consultant. My wife sells Prove It, right? Which is a ketone energy supplement, again, based down in Dallas. And so I have some experience with MLM or network marketing. And I'm in professional sales, right? I consider myself an entrepreneur. I do about 5 different things right now. I look at this as a cross-functional skill set, just like golf, that I can take into other businesses and do a great lead behind, do a gift. There's so many possibilities with this thing, and that's what I love about it, right? The connotation of the MLM to me, that's up to us, right? There's character versus reputation. If you have a great character, that's going to exceed or oversee your reputation, right? There's been used car salesmen, right, quote unquote, for years. And as a professional salesman, I don't take offense to it. I look at it as an opportunity to develop somebody else. So this was just a great avenue for me to kind of come in. And as I clicked on that link to become a consultant, and I called Kelly back and I said, hey, tell me about this becoming a consultant. How can I do this? And again, with the environment we're in, I'm like, this is like Amazon for wine. This has got to be the easiest thing I've ever been a part of. And so I hope that answers your question about maybe why.
Yeah, absolutely. And this would probably tag team with what you were talking about with what your wife does, but what is your marketing strategy and how do you plan to really execute and get Scout and Cellar out to your network?
So I think we all got the email today, right, about the Father's Day promotion. This is the simplest marketing strategy in the world. You follow the Hallmark calendar and then you add in your own promotions, right? I got one that I came up, and that's the hard part, right? It's focusing. Because it's so broad, you know, you can go into so many things. The news guy can reach into his news network. The lawyer guy can reach into his lawyer network. I've chose to go after right now realtors and this word side hustle. I created a flyer. I'm going after realtors hard for 30 days, and I'm going to stay there, right? Everything in me is going to want to pivot, and I will in one-on-one interactions. But my overall strategy for the next 30 days is going to be real estate and everything to do with the real estate industry, focusing there, seeing what that looks like. And then after, 30 days, kind of regroup and say, okay, how did that go? What did I learn? What did I do well? Where did I get stuck? What can I do better? And then go after the next individual promotion, right? Maybe then it's hairstylists, right? Maybe then it's salons, it's massage therapists, it's people. And I heard somebody else say it. I'm being very strategic. I want to share it with the individual, but I want to share it with individuals of influence, because when you share it with individuals of influence, you're sharing it with not only them, but their network.
Awesome. Thank you, Rocky. I also want to introduce Todd McKenzie. He is a director of sales in the med device realm. He has a great experience. He's out in Georgia. He's one of my level ones. I'm super excited. He took a risk. We haven't met yet. He signed up before trying the wine. We met through LinkedIn. So Todd, I want to ask you those same questions. What drew you to Scout and Cellar? How did you find out about us?
Yeah, well, great question. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody virtually. Good to meet everybody. Put some faces with some names too, so that's great to see. So yeah, Catherine, great question. Just a quick background. You mentioned I'm in medical sales. I've been a director of sales for a startup medical device company based in Minnesota. So been in medical device arena for about 20 years and leadership for about 13. Developed a lot of different sales forces, put a lot of different sales forces together. And the biggest thing, sales, it is a very loose term, I would say. Things in sales have evolved. How we sell has evolved. One of the biggest things to me that attracted to Scout and Cellar is a new segment of the wine industry. It's educating people and educating things on new things that are going on in a new segment of what wine is really all about. LinkedIn is something that I've got a very deep network in. Not big in Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn is kind of a place I have for a professional environment. Ran across, actually, I think it was one of your videos, believe it or not, stopped and was like, oh, what's this? Listen to it. Okay, let's look a little bit more about it. The biggest thing that attracted to me to Scout and Cellar is an opportunity in my professional network to utilize some of the skills that I have and what I try to work with my consultants on. And again, the word consultant instead of sales representative, is really educating people about a new segment. And that is what I'm passionate about, and educating them about what real clean crafted wine is really all about is very intriguing to people. There has not been a day, I hadn't even been on board a week and posted a number of things on LinkedIn. There's not been a day that has gone by that I've not had somebody reach out to me and say, tell me more about this. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Todd, I also like something you said with one of our first conversations, which is you can't wait to lead a team. And I think that's a huge positive sign for success with Scout and Cellar, because in order to move up the ladder to leadership, you obviously grow a team, coach a team, which is such a fun concept, which is coaching. So do you want to elaborate on what you look forward to most with leading and coaching a team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that I've done for a number of years now. And again, it gets back to the basics of educating and expanding that network. I come from an athletic background as well. Enjoy the sports arena. I've coached all my life. I've always developed and worked with people of all ages. from professional network all the way down to rec league, and building a network and educating and building a team is something that is exciting to me. It's something that, you know, I've kind of been born for, if you say that, for the last 13 years, and especially in the environment that I'm in now for the last 3 or 4, of building a sales team. And being able to build a team within Scout and Cellar is something that is just beyond exciting to me, because I'm able to take something that pivots, and I think Rocky said this, it pivots perfectly into things that we're already doing. It's just taking and educating things from new people. And one of the big things, and I use a lot of analogies, and I use this a lot of times with some of the sales teams and our consultants, is you can't be afraid to lose either. You can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid when you're presenting this. And I think that is one of the biggest things that people have got to understand, is that you're not going to win every single day. You're not going to be able to sell every single person something. Some of the greatest Hall of Fame athletes have lost more than they've won throughout their career. So in order for people to understand that, is that you have to be understanding and not afraid to lose. And I think once people understand that, their walls start coming down, and they're more apt to speak, communicate, and educate with people, and that becomes success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Todd. And I want to introduce you guys to the person sitting on my right. This is my biggest supporter and cheerleader and fan in the business. Gavin Sonntag, my husband, has been in med device sales, and he's currently a CMO. He's been in med device for 20 years. He can sell 100 times better than I can. And he's helped me recruit a lot of my level 1, actually director legs, believe it or not, as well as a ton of wine clubs. He's like contacted his high school friends. He's contacted anyone he goes on, plays golf with. He knows to talk to them about the business, because when they say, how is everything going, he'll talk about Kat's wine business instead of, you know, maybe something else. So I just want to introduce you guys to him and see if you can provide any tips or how we partner together. Before, I know the next subject is also going to talk about how to support wives, but if you have any 2 cents before we pass it off.
Yeah, thanks. Great to meet y'all. And I think probably, you know, my biggest thing is from day one, I've believed in the product. Like some of you guys have said, we traveled to Europe and kind of got to experience some of those Italian wines, and, you know, felt a little bit better. And so from day one, I think we believed in the product. So it just makes it easy not to steal her thunder. And I'm sure all of you guys say this, but live it out loud. You kind of just talk about it. And it's an easy thing to get into in just about every conversation. She knows, you know, the amount of consultants and different people that we've had come to tastings when you could do tastings before COVID, but, you know, from planes, from trains, from, you know, every different aspect of life. And you're just kind of talking about it. And it's a pretty easy subject to get into. So that's my recommendation. I can easily get into it because I believe in the product so much. And now, not only do I believe in the product, but I believe in the company. I believe in the people. I mean, I see Kat and have met all these people. And so it's like, now my confidence is just built, right? It's this solid product, and you've built this, you know, fortress around it from a company perspective, from a, you know, everything. So she knows I just support as much as I can, because I believe it's just going to continue to grow. So
Cheers.
Cheers. Is that helpful?
Thank you. And who am I tossing it to? Hold on.
I mean, I've already had 2 glasses just sitting there.
Okay. I'm gonna toss it to Ann, who, fun fact, Ann was a Texas Tech cheerleader, and I was Texas Tech pom squad. We didn't know each other in college, but I just love that. And hey, Ann, take it away.
So actually, Gavin and Catherine, that was a perfect segue of what we're going to talk to next. I have the honor of talking about some of our biggest cheerleaders, just like Catherine said that Gavin is for her. Now, as all of y'all know, Scout and Cellar is very female driven, but behind the majority of the females in this business, our biggest supporter and biggest cheerleader are husbands. And when I'm on a call, 1 second. And so what I get to do is I want to talk to a couple of our husbands that are on this call and ask them, you know, how they help us, what do they do to support our business, and also how has Scout and Cellar changed your life? So the very first person that I want to talk to is John Coral.
Hey y'all.
Hey, John. So what do you do for a living?
Long story. I'm a commercial real estate investor. I've been in the institutional world, working 8 to 8 on airplanes, kind of doing stuff all over the country for a long time. And then on the last 18 months have kind of taken the entrepreneurial plunge with Jackie separate and apart from that, and own some real estate myself, and actually currently work for a football player. So right now, Jackie and I are working from home, but historically I've been in the world of kind of high finance and kind of large format real estate transactions.
Well, you were with Goldman for,
He worked at Goldman Sachs for 12 years and then ran acquisitions for a development firm and a pension fund advisor. So large corporate stuff, lots of hours, lots of airplanes, and kind of over the last year and a half I've decided that's not ideal with 2 kids and a wife, as we'll talk about, that's really growing her business. And so, we're busy. We'll just put it that way.
So what do you do specifically that helps Jackie grow her business?
Well, great question. I think a lot of what you have to do is, as we've gone into this shared world of entrepreneurship, which is a strange term. Everybody thinks it's something different. You work more and tend to get paid less. That's how I describe entrepreneurship in the early stages, right? You work a lot. The hours are nonlinear. So, I'm not getting on an airplane and just leaving for 3 days and coming back to whatever. And Jackie's taken on this MLM platform, like she takes on everything else in her life, whether it's mothering or doing Christian nonprofits. She took it, by the horns and ran with it. And so what I've done to support her, I think, has been to help create an environment where she's not afraid to go do what she needs to do. A lot of times, as Jackie was a stay-at-home mom, by design for 6 years as we were having and then raising little kids. And coming out of that, there's a lot of challenges with how does a husband, someone talked earlier about, it's a female-dominated business, and obviously the goal here is to get more men, whether it's supporting or selling or whatever. But when you have that division of responsibilities of one's a provider and one's a caregiver, and you kind of throw that out, you tear it up and you say, hey, let's all figure out how to do this all together. It creates you do some things you never would have thought you were doing, like put the kids to bed a lot more than you used to. Help with some of the things around the house that you had never had to do before. And that's not really helping Jackie with just the business. It's been sharing our entrepreneurial role together and really being a cheerleader for her. It's been really, really cool to see the growth of the business, right? It helps when you're cleaning your dog's puke off the couch, while one child is pulling on your leg and the other one is trying to avoid you, while your wife's on a Zoom call, when things are going really well and checks are rolling in. And so that certainly has been the case for us as Jackie's grown her business. So I find ways to help where I can. I'd say that's the way to put it, but it's not any one thing.
How has Scout & Cellar impacted your life?
Well, it's certainly helping now. Again, as we talk about being joint entrepreneurs, when you take away getting a W-2 that covers all of your bills and then some for 20 years, and you decide to go naked, as we've done, every dollar helps. As I call it, our mantra is kind of fill the bucket every month. However we need to do it, let's fill the bucket every month. And again, Jackie's putting her best foot forward to fill the bucket every month, and that's probably how it's changed us the most. I'm not, just full disclosure, I'm not a huge wine drinker. We live next door to the Sonntags. So they're really our closest friends. Certainly in quarantine land, they're absolutely our closest friends. But we've gotten to know them really, really well over the last couple of years here. And I think Gav has really embraced as he's drinking his wine in the background there, Gav has really embraced the wine. I actually like it. I would not fancy myself a wine drinker. And so the product has really helped. This is a legit product. It's not snake oil sales. It's not skincare. It's something that I've learned to enjoy, even if it's something that I'm not necessarily passionate about.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, John. The next person that I get to interview is someone very special. It is my brother-in-law. So Jeff Hoke, please unmute yourself. And Jeff, I'm going to ask you the same questions. How do you support Shelly in Scout & Cellar?
That is a role that has changed quite a bit. when we first were approached by Scout and Cellar, I would say Shelly was approached. It was all about another product. I think it was one of the Jeffs. There's a lot of Jeffs on this call. There's one of the Jeffs that talked about, I think it was Jeff Brady, that talked about MLMs. So Shelly and I own a fitness and consulting company. I'm a personal trainer. She at one point was a personal trainer. She's a dental hygienist. So health was important to us. And we were inundated with people all the time. Hey, join this company, sell this product. Mm-hmm. And most of the time what we found was that we didn't really like the product. And not because it wasn't a product we couldn't sell. It's because what was in the product we did not believe in. And that just wasn't part of us. That wasn't part of our ethics and our morals. So she comes home and says, hey, I've been invited to this wine tasting. I think I'm going to go. And I was like, okay, have fun. And she comes home and her hair is on fire. And she said, we're going to do this. I'm like, okay. I was tapping the brakes, Jeff, just like you were. What are you talking about? We're going to do this. And so she starts telling me about wine and what's in wine. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Wine is wine. And it come to find out, I love research, did a lot of research and found out, nope, wine isn't wine. There's 98% of it out there, which I think now because of what Scout and Cellar done is a little bit less than that. But at one point in time, 98% of the wine out there was not pure wine. So that was intriguing to me because I think as men, we're all about the product. You know, it's the difference when we look at whether we're going to buy a car or we're going to buy a piece of clothing, whatever it is, it's quality. It's what's in the product. And for me, it was all about, hey, okay, I can get into this. This is a great product. So once I knew that, then it was easy to sell because for me, what I do is I'm usually one-on-one with my clients. I just would tell them, hey, you know what's in wine? Hey, guess what I found out? And I was very confident in the fact that I knew what was out there, what was in the wine, and what was different about Scout and Cellar wine. And then the next step was to go into the numbers. And I think most of the guys here, or a lot of people are into math. I love the numbers. So then I was computing the numbers. Well, how do you make this successful? And I know it's bottom line is not all about the money, but at some point in time, we're in it because we want to make a little bit of money. So that's how my role changed. And part of it was Shelly she was the one that got out there. She was the one that got on Facebook. She's the one that engaged all the people. She started hosting these tastings. And to this day and time, I'll put her up against anybody that wants to host a wine tasting. You want to know how to host a wine tasting? You go to Shelly and let her, teach you how to do that. I was behind the scenes looking at the numbers and doing the computing and doing the calculating. And now she's actually probably as good at that or better than I am. But that's been my support so it's been a metamorphosis over that period of time.
Awesome. And then how has Scout and Cellar changed your life?
So Shelly talks about this all the time. And most of you that know Shelly have heard this before. Our why was that we have 3 children, and we had put our 3 children through private school, and our oldest was, I think he was a 7th grader at the time, and we were looking at the cost of private school, high school tuition, which was 2.5 times what we were used to paying. And we had hard decisions to make. We had to say, you know what? We need to figure out, do we need to move to a better school district so that so that our children can attend a better school district? But we were a big believer. So we're Catholic, and we had a belief in the Catholic education, and we really wanted our children to continue into that Catholic education. So for us, it was about how do we make enough money to pay for high school? And that was it, plain and simple. Just if we could make enough money to pay for 1 year of high school each year, we're going to do it. We'll figure out how to do it. And I'm happy to say, I know we're not supposed to talk about all that, but we have made enough money to pay for private high school and a little bit more. So it's been unbelievable.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for being on here. I'm going to pass it back over to Shelly, and she is going to close us out.
Okay, so this has been, I mean, I am frantically taking notes. This has been so interesting to hear the male perspective of Scout and Cellar. I mean, I've heard some great things. Jeff Brady's talking about product, people, plan, talking about how you need to be staying focused and how men, they kind of just want to make it easy. So, I mean, I've got all these scribbled notes over here, and I want to learn so much more, just like all the other leaders that are on this call, and women, we want to learn so much more from you. So we actually had like 2 purposes for this call, or maybe 3. 1, we wanted to learn from you. 2, we wanted you guys to kind of get to see each other and maybe know each other and connect and feel the community that we feel as women, even across team lines. We're all reaching across. That's the one thing about Scout and Cellar that I love. We are truly a community. There are no teams. There's no segregation. It is one giant company. And that has been, I think, what's made us so successful. And we want to see you guys empowered to do the same thing, to reach across lines and to help each other to grow and to teach us to be able to present the business to a man. So what we were asking is, the second part of this was that we would love to do an opportunity call with you guys so that we can open it up to all men. There's several teams that are on here, and opening it up to all men that want to hear the opportunity from a man's perspective of what Scout and Cellar can do for them. So I'm hoping that out of this, we get some great volunteers that would love to run an opportunity call that is really focused on men. And also what we were planning on doing is, so we've got another leader on this call. She is a senior director. A lot of you may know her. Her name is Emily Jones, and she is the Texas Rangers reporter. I don't know, Emily, if you're here, I want you to maybe unmute, and I don't know if you've got your picture on. But what we'd like to do is, oh, there she is. So you see it says Emily Jones McCoy. So if you don't know Emily, she's awesome. And I always tell her, I said, Emily, if you don't use your fame, I'm going to use it for you. But everybody knows who Emily is. And so I'd love for her to help kind of bring in those guys that are like, hey, I'm a sports kind of guy. And, what is this wine business and thing? And just to get a male's perspective and draw in those guys that, again, I'm going to use Emily's fame for it, is to just kind of have a face and a figure that, can represent the women of Scout and Cellar, but also to draw you guys into, and for us to learn how we can grow the men of Scout and Cellar. And again, we're hoping that we get some of you guys. We had some amazing speakers. I mean, truly, truly gifted people that are going to help us to grow the business, grow your business, grow our company, and continue to obviously do amazing things with Scout and Cellar. But we also want you guys to connect with each other. We're hoping that maybe we can do another call like this again, maybe even this time next week, and draw. We didn't really open this up to entire teams. We just kind of cherry pick some of the guys that we really wanted to just visit with, and we knew personally that we wanted to help lead this call. But maybe have you guys start once a week, once a month, whenever you guys want to connect with each other and have a call. And we would love to get that going for you guys, and then you can take off and do whatever you'd like to do with it. But we have learned so much from all of you, and we want to continue to learn from you. And I'm kind of speaking for the other leaders, but they can unmute and talk about it. But we're hoping that you guys will agree to do, maybe in the next week or 2, let's do some kind of opportunity call, and we can all kind of market this as, the men of Scout and Cellar, that wine is definitely crosses both gender lines, and we definitely want to get as many men into this business as we can, because you guys have great insight. You look at it as through a different lens than what we look at it. We're looking at how can I partner with the beauty county and the jewelry girl and do a party, and you guys are looking at more, as business perspective, or just product, or just learning the research of it. We've learned so much. We also want to empower, like we've talked, to my husband, and we talked to Catherine's husband, we talked to John Carl Jackie's husband, and how we can have maybe just some women that are in this opportunity, this business, to get their men to join them. Because we do find that when you have couples that do this together, they are highly successful. And maybe that will empower just a consultant to have their spouse get involved in this and to help them on their journey.
Yeah,
So,
can I add something to that, Shelley?
Yes.
In addition to, having the call, I would love to keep these calls going, and I will be on them as long as we can, because you guys guys are phenomenal. In addition to that, with an opportunity gathering, we already have a PowerPoint and outline pretty much sort of set up among the leaders here, so you wouldn't have to worry about creating anything. But something Shelly said a moment ago I want to capitalize on is, yes, we want to bring as many guys as we can into the business, but we also want to generate and create you guys to be leaders. We want more than one male director in this company. We want everyone on this call to be a director in the next, 6 months to a year, whatever your goal is. But so continuing to work with you guys and providing any of the expertise that we have from being in this from the beginning. I know Shelly has, and Amanda and Ann have all been in this since and Elizabeth Drabinsky, who's on the call, have been in it since the company started 2.5 years ago. So tapping into us, I think it could be a very mutually beneficial relationship, us learning a lot and gaining a ton of info from you, as well as vice versa from us.
Yes, that is exactly, I think, when we were all talking about what we wanted this to look like, we really want to learn a lot from you guys, and we want to empower you guys to go and lead and create community with the men. And so we're hoping that this may just, this next opportunity call, that's what we wanted Emily on there. I think that, she's a wonderful asset to draw some people into the opportunity as well. So, I mean, Emily, unmute and say hello. Are you unmuted?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, from my perspective, I have kind of both the female and the male perspective, just because I'm around dudes so much. And I have seen the different ways that the men who have joined my team approach things, as to where, the vast majority are women who have joined my team. But I think too, there, like you said, Catherine, there's something to be learned from both sides. There's something that we can take from both, but there's a distinctly different, whether it's stereotypical or not, different way that men approach things. And I think that the number one thing that I think, if the men could empower the other men, that I think it takes less of a nudging than it does with women, is that fear of failure. I think women they're so worried about the outside, whereas men are to an extent, but it doesn't take much for them to get outside that comfort zone. I think it takes women, it's a little harder. And so I think if we can tap into that from the male perspective, and on the men's side of things, it takes way less nudging along than it does with the ladies. And again, that's just a stereotypical thing. But it's something that I've learned over the years, that, in dealing with men so much, that if you just push them a little bit, they'll get out of it. Whereas it might take the ladies a little bit longer. And so I think it's a huge untapped resource. And not to mention, let's be real, whether it's stereotypical or not, ladies love attention from a guy and telling them about something. Like, oh, you're going to tell me about wine, tell me more, whatever. You can play that up. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with, using that, your wit and your charm and all that kind of stuff to sell a product that you believe in. If you were a shyster, I'd say that's snake oil. That's, not cool, but it's something that you believe in. And so you need to use those traits that you have to benefit your business and to sell a product that you believe in. So I'm happy to jump on the opportunity call whenever, if you think it will help. I think you greatly overrate my influence, Shelly, but I am happy to do whatever you want me to do, because I love you. And I cuss like a sailor, and you probably won't be able to record or post anything because I'll be cussing or whatever, but it is what it is. I am who I am.
It will be a different opportunity call, I will tell you that. Well, and that's what we want. We want a different opportunity call, because, when you look at Scout and Cellar stuff, it's kind of girly. You got the swirly, flowery things, and we really want to kind of, have you guys almost create your own brand of the men of Scout and Cellar. And, again, it's wine, and you guys purchase wine more than women purchase wine. And so we want to empower you guys to do this. So I know that we've got some that have been trying to connect with you guys. So what we're going to do is I'm going to end the call as far as the recording of it, but let's stay on. Let's figure out what we're going to do for an opportunity call and let you guys connect, whether it's through Facebook or whether it's hey, you guys just kind of exchange information, and so that we can, and I think Amanda was going to take some pictures of the people that are on this call so that we can kind of reach out to you guys individually, but we would hope that all of you would be involved in doing something like this. And then obviously getting together again. I think you guys are going to learn so much from each other. like we're learning from you. I think you guys are going to learn from each other. And then we want to empower you guys to do what we do and just to go off and create these communities of leaders and grow together and learn from each other. So we're so glad everybody got to enjoy this call. I truly enjoyed it. Again, like I said, I've got 3 pages worth of notes here, and I hope I can lead our men that are on this team with some of the wisdom that you guys have given us here tonight. But we're excited that you guys got to join us tonight, and we are so grateful for your time that you have given us tonight. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and